To listen ad-free, visit zinspod.co/subscribe. Starting at $2.99 a month, you'll also get access to our exclusive bonus content episodes when you join through Patreon or Apple subscriptions. Thanks for supporting the show.
Welcome to the fourth and final of our What Happens Here, Happens Everywhere Domestic Violence Awareness Month bonus episodes for October of 2024. I'm Sean, and with me, as always, is the one and only John.
I am the only John in the room.
For our final special presentation this month, we are so proud to share something truly exceptional from Navigating Advocacy. The hosts of Navigating Advocacy, Whitney and Melissa, are two people in the ethical true crime community that we look to for guidance and support. They have dedicated their work in podcasting to serving families, and multiple times a year they participate in searches and awareness events because they really believe in supporting the community and advocating for justice and change through action.
We asked Melissa and Whitney if we could share this episode because at the True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival earlier this year, many advocates were there working hard to get the word out about this missing woman, Bianca Carrasco. She vanished from San Antonio on May 1st, 2016, leaving behind 3 children. We know that her sister and family appreciate the support and everyone who shares information on Bianca's story. You can visit the Help Us Find Answers for Bianca Carrasco Facebook page. When you're done listening, head over to navigatingadvocacy.com to learn more about their work, and be sure to subscribe and follow them on all of the socials.
And now, a special presentation of Navigating Advocacy.
Welcome to Navigating Advocacy. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Whitney.
We discuss topics that may be sensitive to listeners.
Discretion is advised.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I hope everyone that has children or is a teacher or something related to the school system has kind of settled into their groove now that you're back in school. I, for one, am glad that the kids are back in school.
Same here, especially having 2 in high school now. It's absolutely surreal that I will be an empty nester before long.
Better start thinking about it now so you can prepare for it.
Oh no, I'm going to keep that box shut until the day of graduation. Thank you very much.
And then you're going to be a hot mess. A hot mess express.
I'll be a hot mess for hopefully one day and not all year long is the goal.
That's true. That's true. We don't have a lot coming up until October. We're pretty chill until October, and we'll be in the Berkshires.
Yes, it's going to be a great event. Are tickets still for sale?
Yep, they are. Just go to BerkshirePodcastFestival.com. You can get your tickets there. It's a lot of fun. It's absolutely stunning there, especially in the fall. You get all of the fall colors from the New England area, as they call it. And it was just, I'm really sad that Melissa missed out on it last year. So we're excited to be able to do it together this year.
I am beyond excited. I just keep thinking about the cooler weather that's going to be up there that time of year. So excited to be wearing hoodies.
Yes, it's chilly. It's wonderful. The house we're staying at has a fire pit. We'll have to remember to get firewood this time. Last time that was like a hard thing to find, but it's okay.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So here we are in the Lone Star State, Texas, where I've lived my entire life. It is a prideful state at that. No one loves their state more than Texans. We are home to many things, including excellent barbecue, Whataburger, and of course, Buc-ee's. Texas is the second largest U.S. state in population after California and the second in size after Alaska. They say everything is bigger in Texas, and I feel like that is true about the list of stories to share. This week, we are navigating advocacy in San Antonio. Haley Gray shared this story with me several months ago, and I know we talk extensively about Haley, but there really aren't enough words in the English language to explain her kindness and genuine care, especially for victims' families. I could honestly sit and talk about Haley for an hour, but she wouldn't like it if I did. Haley brought this story to my attention after a billboard campaign was granted through Season of Justice. Haley shared her excitement for the family and asked some logistical questions about how we do our regular flyer campaigns. I jumped at the opportunity to take care of that for her. One, because she does so much already, and two, because this story is not far from where I live. I wanted a hand in helping. We planned to distribute the flyers the same week the billboard launched, and even though we had yet to share this story here on our podcast, it was more important to make the biggest splash we could than to worry about it coinciding with the release of this episode. So I've been waiting to share the story for quite some time. Today we are navigating advocacy for Bianca Carrasco. Bianca Zanette Carrasco was born on July 21st, 1986 in Odessa, Texas. She had an older sister named Giovanna, whom I had the privilege of meeting, but you'll hear about her later. The two were close, not just in age, but also as friends.
We shared a room together. We're only 18 months apart, so we were close. We're both pretty girly. I think I'm a little bit extra than her. You know, it was kind of something she poked fun at me about, but I don't know. As we got older, it was always fun to go shopping together and dress up our girls and all of that good stuff.
The two lived with their mother until Bianca was around 8 years old and Giovanna was 10. And that's when they moved in with their father in the Houston area. The girls had a rough home life with their father. He was physically abusive and extremely strict. They were not allowed to see their mom or any members of her side of the family. This drove a huge wedge in between them and ultimately led to them not having much of a relationship with the maternal side of the family. Bianca was sassy, loved to dance, and very, very funny.
She loved shopping. She loved makeup, all the beauty stuff. She loved dancing. With food, she was funny. I love food. I love all kinds of food. Now, I like trying foods, but Bianca was a creature of habit, and she was very picky and still very plain. So if she ate a cheeseburger, it was only going to have cheese, or she had very specific restaurants she went to. She never liked trying anything new.
At 16 years old, Bianca's life changed forever. Around 2002, Bianca became pregnant, and this infuriated her father. He sent her away while she was pregnant and forced her to give the baby up for adoption. Bianca was heartbroken and started to rekindle the relationship with her mother and her family in Odessa. But it wasn't quite the reunion Bianca was hoping for. Her mother struggled with substance abuse, and it caused major rifts in the family. Shortly after returning to Odessa, Bianca began a relationship with Joe Daniel Carrasco, who goes by Daniel. Bianca had known Daniel for a while before this relationship began because he was her aunt's ex-husband and was 11 years older than her. Daniel was 29 years old and Bianca was only 18. Although Bianca knew who Daniel was before they started dating, Bianca was not close with this side of the family. She didn't grow up near them and never built an uncle-niece relationship with him. So their relationship is just what it is. It's just a relationship. Daniel and her aunt had divorced after he assaulted his best friend, well before Bianca and Daniel started to date. Their relationship took off pretty quickly. Bianca became pregnant with their first child after a month of dating. Daniel and Bianca moved into his home with his child from a previous relationship and provided for her. Bianca settled into this role and thrived in what appeared to be a stable home. According to the Charlie Project, the two may have had a rocky relationship, but their family and friends never noticed any red flags per se, but Bianca was big on appearances. She never wanted anyone to know that something was wrong. In 2008, Bianca enrolled in an LVN fast track program at Odessa College. This is an intense program that doesn't follow the traditional 2-semester model. It was a solid year from August to August with minimal breaks. The class became close friends fairly quickly because they spent so much time together. And this is where Bianca would meet Julie. After the first few months, the two bonded and became extremely close. After learning that they lived just a few blocks from each other, they began riding to clinical rounds and school together. They even spent weekends studying until the two graduated in 2009.
That's amazing that she's a mom going to school full time, doing this very intense program. And then the fact that she met someone kind of in the same space she is, she kind of needed that. It's probably the first time she's felt stable and like she was putting herself first. So I just like love this.
They were both hired at the same hospital, and Julie said that Bianca was an amazing nurse. She was compassionate, patient, caring, and a true advocate for her patients and their families. Julie also was a single mom to 3 kids. And there were times where Bianca had to play at the single mom role because Daniel worked in the oil field and would be gone for week-long shifts. Julie and Bianca adjusted their work schedules to be opposite so that they could help one another with childcare. It's always good to have one of those besties that you can rely on.
It's amazing and so needed, especially because she didn't have a great family support system outside of her husband and kids. So the fact that she had this best friend to help her is just so cute. But then I'm so weird. I'm like, oh, they didn't get to work together. But obviously taking care of the children was more their priority at that time. I absolutely love that too.
One of Julie's favorite things about Bianca is that she loved music and to dance. One of her favorite songs was Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus. She couldn't not dance to it, especially with her oldest daughter. They had an entire routine choreographed. Julie also recalls a moment when she had been keeping Bianca's kids and a significant rainstorm had passed through the area, causing flash flooding. Bianca called Julie for help. A road around 2 blocks away from Julie's house was known for flooding, and Bianca had chosen to take that route to pick up her kids. She attempted to drive through the flooded street, but her car stalled and she couldn't make it. She called Julie for help because Daniel was out of town at the time. Bianca told her that her car was stuck in the water and painted this picture as if her car was flooding and that she was in extreme danger. Julie rushes over the 2 blocks away and sees that Bianca's just sitting inside of her car. It's stalled out, but it's not flooded. In her normal yet slightly dramatic tone, she asked Julie to help her because she didn't want to get her new tennis shoes wet and ruin them.
My gosh, that is really one of my greatest fears is getting flooded while I'm driving or driving through water and not knowing how deep it is. But that's hilarious. I love that she didn't want to get her shoes wet.
Julie rolled up her pant legs, took off her own shoes and socks, and walked through the barely mid-calf deep water to give Bianca a piggyback ride from the car to a dry section of land. Julie said that Bianca was laughing the entire time. Eventually, a man helped move Bianca's car out of the water and all was fine, but Julie likes to talk about the time that she saved Bianca from the flood. It became Julie's favorite inside joke to text her about any time it rained. She would tell her, "Turn around, don't drown." In October of 2013, Bianca, Daniel, and their children moved to San Antonio. The family bought a house on Walnut Creek Road, and Bianca enrolled at the Galen College of Nursing to gain her RN license. Daniel continued working in the oil field and would travel from San Antonio to Odessa on his scheduled weeks on the rig. He had 7 days on and 7 days off. Bianca worked her tail off and graduated with her RN license in the fall of 2015. She was hired on at a medical center in Live Oak, Texas. Live Oak is a suburb about 20 miles northeast of San Antonio. I literally drive through it if I were to come from Austin. Bianca really shined as a nurse, and she was maturing as a person. Giovanna says this is really when Bianca was finding her groove in life.
It was only maybe a couple years before she went missing. And at that point, she was kind of in her groove at San Antonio. I was doing my thing. And we had never really, it was kind of like boom, boom, boom. When she was 18, she had kids right away, got married, and finding her way through that. And then myself included, remember, we're only 18 months apart. And we both, got married young and had children young. And So there was never any time we were still trying to grow and learn about ourselves and who we were. And this memory, I felt like we were, grown. We were older and we didn't have our kids. And I don't think that had ever been a thing where we weren't together without our kids. And we just went shopping. We always laughed together. She always made me laugh. And we just walked around the river walk and had lunch. And I always liked to embarrass her. She was easy to embarrass. And yeah, it was more symbolic to we had overcome this stuff and we got to be big girls sitting there, and just enjoying each other and being sisters without all the fighting.
In early 2016, she had been talking to a few of her coworkers about how unhappy she was at home. She had told them that things were tough and that her and Daniel weren't really speaking with one another by February. The two were living as if they were separated but under the same roof. Daniel was still traveling for work, so their interactions were minimal, mainly on the weekends. Bianca changed her marital status from married to divorced on Facebook. In March, Bianca had met and began talking with another man. There were a few news reports that said Bianca was speaking with multiple men, but that's not correct. She did, however, not tell this man that she was still legally married. Discussions of divorce were a regular occurrence in between Bianca and Daniel, but he wanted custody of the kids in the divorce if it happened, and Bianca was close to agreeing to that arrangement. She wasn't sure she would be able to financially support the 3 kids on her own. Bianca confided in her sister that she was worried about money and how hard it would be to take care of the kids, but Giovanna assured her that if she switched jobs to a different nursing role, she would be at a better position financially for the kids. So she started looking for new jobs. While they were talking about divorce, Giovanna believed that Daniel wasn't truly accepting that the relationship was over. It was normal for them to argue and fight. They would go for extended periods of time, not speaking to one another. Daniel thought that this was just another fight. He quit his job in Odessa for a job in San Antonio so that he wouldn't be gone as much, thinking this may help. This new job only lasted a few days because Daniel was preoccupied with his marriage. Daniel manipulated Giovanna into giving him access to Bianca's call log on April 27th to see who she was texting. He then learned about the man Bianca was talking to and became enraged. Daniel began threatening Bianca to the point that she left work early that day because she was afraid Daniel would show up. She told Giovanna that she was scared and that she was going to go home quickly to look for their gun.
Oh, wow. This is getting bad.
She also bought a new phone that Daniel wouldn't be able to access. Daniel took some measures against Bianca as well by removing all of the money from their joint bank account and put it into one that only he could access. Bianca texts Giovanna saying, quote, "Daniel emptied the account and opened another account without my name on it. So I have no access to the money except my credit card, which is almost at the limit. Money I busted my ass for." End quote. The threats continued from Daniel as he texted her new cell phone that Bianca showed her coworkers on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. According to Giovanna, Bianca told her colleagues that typical line of, "If I go missing, you know what happened to me." Maybe not in those exact words, but that's the sentiment she was sharing. These threats ranged from him saying that he was going to show up at her work to saying he was going to kill her. At one point, Daniel called the man Bianca was talking to, telling him that Bianca was married. This led the man to confront her and end things because he did not want a relationship with a married woman. Bianca decided that it was time to file for divorce and told Daniel that she had plans to meet with a divorce attorney. Giovanna had talked to Bianca around 2 p.m. that same day, and Bianca had shared that she had made an appointment with a lawyer for May 6th. She was wanting to discuss the custody of her children. Giovanna said that Bianca seemed calm and level-headed throughout the discussion, but she was concerned that Daniel would get full custody of the kids. Bianca also told Giovanna that Daniel was giving her the creeps. She woke up one night around 2 a.m. and found him standing over her. In the next couple of hours, on May 1st, Bianca had posted a few Snapchat videos with one of her children, and then her phone was turned off, and Bianca was never heard from again. Giovanna had called her on the 2nd, but was never able to get through. Her phone remained off. Giovanna called her work, and Bianca hadn't showed up for her shift that day. This was a major red flag. Bianca did not miss work. And Giovanna told her coworkers that if she didn't show up on the 3rd, that she was going to call the police.
Wow. And obviously she needed the money considering he had taken it all. And if she's about to hire a lawyer, there's probably no way that she would miss a whole shift as a nurse, which could be a significant amount of money for her. Dang, this is just tragic.
And you have to look at the future too. She doesn't want to do anything with her job that she's going to cause a rift to potentially lose that job, because if she doesn't have a job, she's not going to win a custody battle. So she would have thought of those things. Giovanna called Daniel that same day just to see if everything was okay, because Bianca's phone was still off. Daniel told her that he and Bianca had gotten into an argument after the kids went to bed on the 1st. He said that Bianca started walking away from the house, and that was the last time he saw her. He got into his car to leave for work with their youngest child, leaving the other 2 kids at home. Giovanna was upset that Daniel left the 2 other kids alone at home, and when she called him out on it, he said he thought Bianca was going back to the house. It seemed as though Daniel wasn't telling Giovanna everything, though. He had quit his job in Odessa. His job in San Antonio ended after just a few days because he was wanting to keep track of Bianca. How could he have been leaving to go to work when he didn't have a job?
Yeah, exactly. And do you know how old the kids were? I'm assuming.
Not old enough to be left alone.
Oh,
they were not old enough to be left alone.
Wow.
Also, what struck Giovanna as strange is that Bianca didn't go for walks. Definitely not at night. She would have never left her kids alone at home. But Daniel said he never saw her again and that she had left her car at the house with her purse inside. Hold on to this because this is a tidbit of information we're going to talk about in a minute. Giovanna thought maybe Bianca really was angry and needed the evening to cool off. Perhaps she went to this man she was talking to's house, or a friend, or just needed a second. She spoke with her other relatives who posted on Facebook about Bianca being missing, but decided to wait until the following morning to see if she would show up for her shift, because she may miss one due to extreme stress, but she definitely wouldn't have missed 2 shifts. When she didn't show up that next day, Giovanna called the police. Now, Giovanna lives in the Houston area, so when she called the police in San Antonio, they said you need to call Houston. So she called Houston so that she could make the report in person with an officer. So there's a little bit of confusion there as to where the phone call is, who made the report, etc. Daniel never reported Bianca missing because he thought she left on purpose. But if she left on purpose, why would she leave her car behind that was fully paid for with her purse inside?
Yes. People need a vehicle for transportation and their purse if they're going to leave and start a new life.
And if it's fully paid for and she needs money in the event she needs down payments for things, she could have sold the car for more money.
Yes.
When law enforcement arrived at Giovanna's house in Houston to take the report, they asked why Daniel didn't report her missing. And Giovanna said she didn't know. The officer called Daniel to speak with him, and he told them they had the wrong number and hung up on them.
Oh my gosh.
Initially, San Antonio Police Department was hesitant about listing Bianca as a missing person. We see that a lot, especially in adults. They're adults, they can make their decisions to go off on their own. So that doesn't surprise me. Daniel eventually spoke to the police and said that Bianca had been cheating on him and that she probably left town with the man she was seeing. He also said that Bianca had given her wedding ring back. However, Giovanna would confirm later that that wasn't true. Law enforcement did reach out to the man Bianca was talking to ask if he had seen Bianca. He was out of town with the sports team that he coaches, but they did speak with his mother. His mother said that a woman with brown hair had been at the house on Saturday, April 30th, and Sunday, May 1st. Then at around 4 a.m. on Sunday, the woman's husband picked her up. Even though this seemed to be a real lead in Bianca's disappearance, it was later confirmed that that woman was not Bianca. It was another close friend. Child Protective Services were called in for investigation on May 4th because they had received a call that stated Bianca and Daniel had fought a lot, and that when they learned Bianca was missing, they wanted to alert CPS. The kids were taken in the middle of the night and were placed with Giovanna for a short time. The investigation didn't go far because police had very little to go on. Bianca's day leading up to her disappearance was uneventful. She ran some errands in the early afternoon and was texting her daughter throughout. She then got home a little before 8 p.m., which is the normal bedtime for her children. At 8:08, she had texted that man she was talking to, and she called him again at 8:38. After that, there was no phone activity until 10:22 p.m. when the phone was turned off for the last time. Bianca was always on her phone. Always. She had it with her. She was doing videos with her kids, taking pictures, looking on social media. That's who she was, like most of us these days. The fact that it wasn't used but turned on from 8:38 until 10:22, but not accessed, not had anything done to it, is extremely strange.
Mm-hmm.
The phone records also indicated that her phone was turned off while she was at her house. Incidentally, Daniel made an outgoing call at the exact time Bianca's phone was turned off. His phone also had no activity from 8:08 until 10:22, which is the same window Bianca's didn't.
Wow.
Police were able to recover the pings from Daniel's phone, but have never released the information. This didn't stop Julie from digging deeper. She learned that another friend had been messaging Bianca on the 30th and on the 1st. Julie reached out to that friend and inquired about what they had discussed. Bianca had asked her about potential employment and shared a bit about what was going on with her and Daniel, saying she was trying to find a higher paying job so that she could live without Daniel and keep her children. She even told this friend that she was considering moving to Houston to live with Giovanna for a bit. She told this friend that Daniel had become controlling and insecure. This friend has never been contacted by the San Antonio Police Department, and she said that she regretted turning down the lunch invite from Bianca on the last day that she was seen. San Antonio police finally determined that Bianca could be at risk, and a be on the lookout was sent out. Some flyers were created with the information that Daniel had provided. He said she was last seen wearing a blue denim jacket, pastel multicolored leggings, and wedge shoes. He said she was carrying a pink Prada purse and a black Prada wallet. She was 5'1" and weighed 125 pounds, of Latin descent and shoulder-length brown hair and brown eyes. This clothing description seems very specific after Daniel originally telling law enforcement that he couldn't remember what she was wearing. It's also a very specific outfit that Julie feels Bianca would never wear. She wasn't even sure that Bianca owned pastel multicolored leggings. She was a girly girl, fashionista, if you will. That is not an outfit she would have put together, because a pink Prada purse is not going to match pastel multicolored leggings. Also, how could she have been carrying the purse if it was left behind in the car?
Exactly. And was it the pink purse? Was that the purse that was found in the car?
Several public searches were held, including 2 in her neighborhood. Texas EcuSearch provided assistance with ATVs, dogs, and drones, but nothing was ever recovered. Less than a week after Bianca disappeared, Daniel told law enforcement that he could no longer afford to live there, that he was preparing to move and lease the house out, and that they could search the house and her car. This is days after Bianca disappeared.
Okay.
Dogs were brought in, and luminol tests were completed to look for blood or blood cleanup, but nothing was ever reported as being found. Or if they have, they've kept it very tight-lipped. When officers searched her car, no mention of the pink Prada purse was mentioned. Yet, Daniel told Giovanna that it was left in the car. Then, Daniel moved to Odessa and leased the house out. By May 23rd, foul play could not be ruled out. There were no suspects named. Daniel has only been questioned once, and after originally agreeing to a polygraph test, he spoke with a lawyer and then later declined the test. 6 months after Bianca's disappearance, CPS allowed the children to return to Daniel. He moved back to San Antonio into the house he shared with Bianca. Bianca has completely vanished. She was not the type to leave her children, let alone walk away without $1 on her. And also, you're going to go for a walk in wedge shoes? Yeah, right.
I totally was thinking that when you said wedge shoes. I'm like, those are not appropriate to be walking in at night, considering Bianca was a person that didn't even want her shoes dirty.
And I can't picture leggings and wedges. That's not even an outfit one would put together?
No, not at all. Can Daniel just suddenly afford the house now, and that's why he came back? I'm assuming he got a job somewhere.
I'm assuming. Or maybe he just brought the kids back because that's the house they knew.
Okay.
Because he didn't have the kids when he moved away. Her bank account had over $600 in it when she disappeared, but it's never been touched. Eventually, it was closed. She's never been seen or heard from since that day. Her children still live with Daniel, and he tells them that Mom just left. She just left. Giovanna, Julie, Haley, Search and Rescue San Antonio, and many other people are tirelessly looking for Bianca. San Antonio Police Department are staying tight-lipped about the cell phone pings on Daniel's phone, as well as the case file. They won't even give it to Giovanna. Could something have happened that night that Daniel and Bianca argue? Julie believes that Daniel could possibly have snapped and harmed Bianca, and that perhaps her body is somewhere between San Antonio and Odessa. There are thousands of dark back roads in Texas. It's been 8 years since Bianca disappeared. Her family is adamant that she would not have left her children behind, and she would have not gone off the grid. She is not one for nature, so she's not just going to disappear. Any information, no matter how small or insignificant you feel, should be called in. In June of 2024, Crime Stoppers offered a $5,000 reward for tips. So if you have any information, please contact San Antonio Crime Stoppers at 210-224-STOP. You, of course, can follow the journey to help find Bianca at Help Us Find Answers for Bianca Carrasco on all social media platforms and start sharing. Giovanna believes that with enough media attention, they may be able to advance Bianca's case. This year, in honor of Bianca's birthday, I had the opportunity to drive to San Antonio and meet Giovanna and Julie in person. They held a birthday celebration for her, and it was beautiful, sad, and inspiring. They are not ready to give up until Bianca comes home.
Wow. I feel like that's the 8th time I've said that during this episode, but my gosh, this one is beyond heartbreaking. Wow. I knew you were in San Antonio. I've heard of this case, but I did not know the ins and outs of it the way that you just explained it. And now I'm just shocked.
And we don't like to point fingers, right? Like, we don't like to speculate. We don't really like to name suspects or dox people. But Daniel had a history of violence. I mean, he beat up his best friend. He clearly was hung up on Bianca, and he was tracking her to work. He was very, very upset when she chose to end things. He was controlling and possessive, and it's all the markers of a domestic violence situation. And I talked to Giovanna a lot about this because they had a very rough upbringing. And when you are raised in a household where there is violence, you don't always know that that's not normal. And she really believes that Bianca struggled with those thoughts and those feelings. And that's why she didn't tell people about how rough things could have been at home, because they could have been a lot worse than they even know.
Very true. Wow.
If you have any information about Bianca Carrasco, please contact the San Antonio Police Department at 210-207-7660.
Thanks for listening. Visit sinspod.co/subscribe for exclusive bonus content and to listen ad-free. Remember to like and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Threads at Sins and Survivors. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. You can contact us at questions@sinsandsurvivors.com.
If you or someone you know is affected by domestic violence or needs support, please reach out to local resources or the National Domestic Violence Hotline. A list of resources is available on our website, sinsandsurvivors.com. Sins and Survivors, a Las Vegas true crime podcast, is researched, written, and produced by your hosts, Sean and John. The information shared in this podcast is accurate at the time of recording. If you have questions, concerns, or corrections, please email us. Links to source material for this episode can be found on our website, sinsandsurvivors.com.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the podcast creators, hosts, and their guests. All individuals are innocent until proven guilty. This content does not constitute legal advice. Listeners are encouraged to consult with legal professionals for guidance.